February 20th, 2026, a secret location in the Middle East. In just the past 72 hours, more than 120 American combat aircraft have landed in the region, one after another. This is the largest influx of United States air power in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq War. Present are the F-22 Raptor F-35, Lightning II F-15, E-Strike Eagle F-16, Fighting Falcon, and the E-3 Sentry Command and Control aircraft. All of these are supported by cargo planes and aerial refueling tankers crossing the Atlantic in successive waves. This is not a simple troop rotation, this is clearly a surge. Flight tracking data shows the continuous departure of planes from various bases in the United States and Europe. This is not just a random movement. This is planned, coordinated, and intentional. Meanwhile, satellite imagery confirmed that the carrier strike group United States ship Abraham Lincoln is currently operating with aircraft in the sea near the coast of Oman, and already within strike range of Iran. And the United States ship Gerald Ardford, which just came from operations in the Caribbean, is continuing to sail eastward in the Atlantic, and was last spotted off the coast of Morocco. Two carrier strike groups, more than 120 aircraft-guided missile destroyers armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, air defense batteries, advanced command and control systems, all are already in position. In Washington, the president has already begun the countdown. According to the president, we may need to take this to the next level. Or maybe not, and maybe we'll make a deal. And you'll know within the next, perhaps, 10 days. 10 days, that's when the world will turn. The countdown has begun, and the military is already prepared. And this is what happens when the time for diplomacy runs out. Now, before we continue, if you're new to our channel, make sure to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. The ultimatum didn't just appear out of nowhere. For several months, there were repeated and lengthy negotiations between the United States and Iran. There were talks in Geneva with Oman acting as the mediator, and there was only one central issue: the nuclear program of Iran. What the Trump administration wanted was for Iran to stop enriching uranium. Part of its stockpile, allow international inspection, and provide guarantees that it will never again develop a nuclear weapon. But Iran's answer was no. Tehran insisted that their nuclear program was for energy and not for weapons. They refused to stop enrichment, refused to surrender their uranium, and rejected any agreement that did not include the removal of United States economic sanctions. Right now, the talks are really not making any progress. On February 20, the patience of the American president ran out, and in front of journalists, he laid out the ultimatum. According to him, we might need to take this to the next level, or maybe not. Maybe we'll make a deal, you'll find out in the next probably 10 days. He also added that they cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. There will be no peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. In other words, Iran will either accept America's conditions or face a military strike. This is not the first time Trump has taken action against Iran. Previously, in the midst of 12 days of tension between Israel and Iran, he authorized an operation called Operation Midnight. 7 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers escorted by F-35 Lightning IIs and F-22 Raptors simultaneously attacked 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities: Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Bunker-busting bombs, each weighing 30,000 pounds, penetrated deep underground. And according to Trump himself, the crucial enrichment site was completely destroyed. However, Iran retaliated. They launched ballistic missiles at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest American military installation in the Middle East. Most struck Qatar's new air defense system with no reports of American soldiers harmed. The fighting ended after 12 days, but the nuclear program did not stop. Satellite imagery from late January 2026 showed that Iran had started rebuilding. Thick concrete shields were poured over the damaged buildings. The tunnel entrances were buried and leveled, and the missile bases were repaired. Iran is pleased after the attacks in June, and now it is preparing for the next level. The military buildup is truly massive. According to Mark Kanzian, retired Marine Colonel and senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the United States is taking all the steps that are usually done when preparing for a certain type of attack. The deployment features some of the world's most advanced combat aircraft. The F-22 Raptor air superiority fighters designed to dominate the skies feature stealth technology that makes them almost invisible to radar and have the capability to supercruise, flying at supersonic speeds without using the afterburner. Their mission is to clear the airspace, shoot down any Iranian jet that tries to intercept the strike package. The F-35 Lightning II is a fifth-generation stealth fighter with highly advanced sensors and radar-evading capabilities. In Operation Midnight Hammer, they suppressed the Iranian defenses so the B-2 bombers could get through. They'll do it again if ordered. And the F-15 Strike Eagle, a twin-engine, two-seat strike aircraft that can carry over 23,000 pounds of weapons, precision-guided munitions, bunker busters, and long-range missiles. These aircraft are capable of striking targets deep inside Iran and fighting their way out if necessary. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is also there. Multi-role fighters that provide close air support, strike capability, and defensive coverage. The E-3 Sentry is also included. Airborne command and control platforms with a large rotating radar dome on top. From 30,000 feet, they can track hundreds of targets simultaneously, coordinate the entire strike package, and manage the entire battle space in the air. All of this is supported by the KC-135 Stratotanker and KC-46 Pegasus aerial refueling tankers. And without these, the fighters wouldn't be able to reach their targets, and even more so, they wouldn't be able to return safely. Flight tracking data shows that the tankers are crossing the Atlantic one after another. They refuel in the air, extending the range of the fighters and keeping them airborne for longer periods. This is the largest concentration of United States air power in the Middle East in over 2 decades. But the real question is, where will the bombers come from? The answer could be Diego Garcia, a small atoll in the middle of the Indian Ocean, over 1,000 miles south of India. This is where the joint military base of the United States and the United Kingdom is located. It has a 12,000-foot runway, enough for the heaviest bombers in America's arsenal: the B-2 Spirit, B-52 Stratofortress, and B-1 Lancer. It's a perfect staging point for a strike against Iran, close enough to reach the target, but far enough to avoid an immediate counterattack. But there really is a problem. Diego Garcia is a territory of the United Kingdom. It's only leased to the United States under a defense agreement, and Britain's permission is needed for any offensive military operation. And according to reports, Kurt Starmer said that the United States cannot use Diego Garcia or even Royal Air Force Fairford in the United Kingdom for an attack against Iran. And the reason is, it could come out. It's about international law. However, Donald Trump did not like this. He immediately withdrew United States support for the United Kingdom's plan to transfer the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands, which includes Diego Garcia, to Mauritius. On February 19, he posted on Truth Social, and according to him, do not give away Diego Garcia. He accused Starmer of making a big mistake and warned that the base would be needed for any future operation against Iran. This dispute has put London in a difficult position. The United Kingdom is trying to balance its alliance with the United States and its commitment to international law. But for the Pentagon, the message is very clear. If Diego Garcia is off limits, they will look for another place, and they have alternatives. They could use another air base like Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, bases in the United Arab Emirates, or if the strike package can be modified, even the aircraft carriers themselves. But the best option is Diego Garcia because it is the closest and most accessible for heavy bombers. But now the situation has become complicated. On February 19, the President of America announced that they would conduct joint naval exercises with Russia in the Sea of Oman and the northern part of the Indian Ocean, and the drills immediately began. Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, issued a warning that any United States-Iran attack would have serious repercussions. He did not explain in detail, but it was clearly implied that Russia is watching them. Iran also issued a notice to pilots about live-fire rocket launcher drills in southern Iran and temporarily closed parts of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important sea routes for global oil. More than 20% of the world's oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz every day. Even if it is only closed temporarily, the message is strong because Iran controls access in and out of the Persian Gulf, and if war breaks out, that control will become a weapon. Satellite images from late January show that Iran is strengthening their important site. At the Parchin military complex, they built a large concrete shield at a new facility and covered it with soil. The site was reported to have been bombed by Israel in 2024, and now it has been rebuilt and reinforced. At the site hit during Operation Midnight Hammer, the Fordo uranium enrichment plant, Iran buried the entrance tunnels and reinforced the access points. At Nathan's, another site that was bombed some time ago, Iran is repairing the damaged sections and has added more protection. Many analysts believe that Iran has moved these critical assets deeper underground, They're harder to detect, harder to hit, and much more difficult to destroy. In a recent discussion, Professor Balan Nasir from Johnson Hopkins University issued a warning that I agree with. I think in the past 6 months, the Iranians have been quietly rebuilding. They've become more cautious and they've made their facilities even deeper underground. And they will become unpredictable. He added that they might launch a major attack right from the start, or they could drag the United States into a long and protracted situation. For example, you could hit an oil tanker, blow up an oil facility, or attack an American ship. And after that, it's up to President Trump whether he will escalate the response. The conclusion is we're in a scenario where everything could spiral out of control and happen very quickly. Iran's defense ministry is really not simple. It's multi-layered. There are mines in the Strait of Hormuz, anti-ship missiles along the coast, submarines patrolling the Persian Gulf, and drones capable of launching storm attacks against United States warships. Iran's goal is not to defeat the United States military in a direct battle. The goal is to slow it down, cause casualties, and create political pressure in Washington to withdraw. Plus, they have another ace up their sleeve. On February 17, Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, posted on social media an AI-generated image showing the United States ship Abraham Lincoln next to a tombstone. The question is it more dangerous to that warship? The weapon that can send it to the depths of the sea? In addition, this is clearly psychological warfare, an attempt to intimidate. However, this also shows Iran's strategy. If the United States attacks, they will not stay silent. They will retaliate against American bases, against its ships, and against its allies in the region. The question now is the President of America ready to accept that risk? On February 20, the carrier strike group United States ship Abraham Lincoln was already operating in the Arabian Sea. Satellite imagery confirmed its position off the coast of Oman. The aircraft carrier strike group led by United States ship Abraham Lincoln was within strike range of Iran. So the F-35C and F-A-18 Super Hornets based on the deck could fly, attack inside Iranian territory, and return to the carrier. The EA-18G Growlers, on the other hand, are capable of jamming the radar and communications of Iranian defenses. The guided missile destroyers in the area are capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles against ground targets. Meanwhile, the United States ship Gerald R. Ford has crossed the Atlantic to join the action. On February 20, the Ford entered the Mediterranean Sea after crossing the Strait of Gibraltar, a step towards the region to support the buildup of United States forces. From there, it is expected to cross the Suez Canal, enter the Red Sea, and head to the Arabian Sea, where the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is stationed. The Ford is currently making a temporary stop at Ceuta Bay, Crete, for resupply and logistics before continuing its journey. Once the Ford arrives, the United States will have 2 carrier strike groups positioned near the coast of Iran. This is a setup that is rare or has almost never happened in history. The R. Ford has just recently finished supporting operations in the Caribbean. This includes the arrest of Nicolas Maduro on January 20 in a raid where he was in Cote and was taken out of Venezuela. And now it has been redeployed to the Middle East, quickly, urgently, and truly without rest. The ultimatum from the President of America only gives 10 to 15 days for Iran to agree to a deal before any action is taken. And since this was issued on February 20, the window is expected to close between March 2 and March 7. According to unnamed senior United States officials reported by Reuters, the United States S. Gerald Arden is expected to arrive. It will be in the region by mid-March to join the forces stationed near Iran. However, there are reports that a possible attack could happen earlier, possibly as soon as this weekend. Some news outlets like the New York Times, Columbia Broadcasting System News, and Cable News Network mentioned unnamed sources, saying that the United States is already prepared to launch an attack within days, even though no final decision has been made yet. These different timelines show 2 possible conditions. Trump has not made a final decision yet. The buildup of forces continues, but there is still no official order to attack. Or the attack is already planned, but the exact date is being kept secret to maintain the element of surprise in the operation and to prevent information from leaking before the action. Either way, the military is ready and the clock is ticking as the deadline approaches. The reports and comparisons to what happened in Venezuela last January cannot be ignored. In September 2025, a massive military buildup began. The United States in the Caribbean, the ships, the planes, and the special forces. For several months, Washington said their target was drug traffickers until January 3, 2026, when Caracas woke up and President Nicolas Maduro was captured. The buildup back then was a warning, and the raid was the result or payoff. Now it seems the same pattern is being repeated in the Middle East. There's a large military presence, an ultimatum to Iran, and possible strikes coming. But there really is a big difference. According to retired Marine Colonel Mark Kanshan, the geography and defense of the area are different compared to Venezuela. It's far from the coast and has a very strong defense structure, so it's difficult to carry out a quick ground raid like what happened in Caracas. If an attack does happen, he expects a long-range missile strike against security forces like the IRGC. He added that the area is also being prepared against aerial strikes. Long-range missiles like the Tomahawk are not enough, even if they manage to get through the surface structures. That's not enough to destroy the underground facilities. Many critical assets in the area have been moved underground into tunnels. They were wrapped in thick concrete shields, and the access points were reinforced, making it difficult for aerial strikes to cause significant damage. Bunker-busting bombs can penetrate some of these defenses now, but not all of them. This means that even if an attack is successful, it doesn't guarantee that the era's nuclear program will be completely wiped out. And this is where the dilemma comes in for Donald Trump. Will he order a limited strike that will cause damage but not completely destroy it? Or will he escalate to make sure the program is totally eliminated? A limited strike could provoke a severe retaliatory attack from Iran without even achieving the main objective. A large-scale strike, on the other hand, could damage the nuclear facilities but might ignite a wider war across the entire region. The President of the United States repeatedly says that he prefers diplomacy, but he also makes it clear that the military option is still on the table. In his own words, we could have a deal instead of sending B-2S to destroy their nuclear potential, but we need to send the B-2S. In short, he didn't want to attack, but he did it because Iran refused to negotiate. 7 months later, it feels like the same thing is happening again. It was reported that Marco Rubio is scheduled to travel to Israel on February 28 to meet with Benjamin Netanyahu. Last summer, the United States carried out a strike against Iran, while diplomatic talks between the two sides were still being arranged. For now, there's no sign that Iran has backed down. In a letter to the United Nations Security Council, Tehran insisted that the United States will be fully and directly responsible for any unexpected and uncontrollable consequences. Iran says they are not seeking war, but their position is also clear. They will respond decisively and proportionally to any aggression from America, and that is the current situation. On one side, there are two carrier strike groups, more than 120 aircraft missiles, bombs. All are positioned and ready. On the other side, there are reinforced underground bunkers, anti-ship missiles along the coast, sea mines, swarm drones, and a clear promise that they will retaliate. Both sides are already positioned, both are armed, both are waiting, and the clock is ticking. Only 10 days left, maybe even less, and only one of them needs to blink for everything to start. The bombs could fall. So here's the question. If you were advising the president, what would you advise? Should we attack now while the buildup of forces gives us the greatest advantage? Or should we wait and give diplomacy a chance? Or should we retreat to prevent the war from spreading and worsening? Share your answer in the comments. These things are not just theories, they're actually happening right now. And if you've made it this far, hit like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see each other again in our next video.